Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. We're back with our weekend Cabral HouseCalls. This is the edition of the show where we get to answer all of our community's questions each and every Saturday and Sunday. They'll love to be able to see what the community's thinking. And I also want to be able to provide you at least a couple minutes worth of my feedback based on my experience, having now seen well over 250,000 client appointments, probably again, close to 300,000 or more now, seeing what will be close to 500,000 at-home labs. So we just have so much data, and I love being able to share that. Now, I do want to say that as I'm opening up the Word document now full of your questions and seeing even just the first question as I glance at it, please, I want you to do this because I want you to get answers faster to your questions. Ask the question right at cabralsupportgroup.com, because many of these, again, just quick glance, and I'm looking right now, I don't do any prep work for the show for these Cabral HouseCalls, that they've already been answered. And so the thing is, I just don't want you to have to wait the typical 12-week times when you could get an answer same day right at cabralsupportgroup.com. And we'll even point you towards the previous podcast that I've done in-depth answers on this, all right? So again, I'm always happy to answer your questions, and I always will, but I just want you not to have to even wait. You can get pretty much same-day answers to your questions at cabralsupportgroup.com. Free Facebook group, private Facebook group. Ask your questions, get support. All right, first question's coming in from Matt. Matt says, hello, I've been seeing and hearing a lot lately about how vegetables are bad for you because of certain defensive toxins they produce to protect against being eaten. I see this a lot coming from the carnivore community. I was wondering if there's any validity to the claim that vegetables are toxic. All right, happy to share this with you. I'm telling you right now, and it's pretty unbelievable because there's actually some doctors in the carnivore community. I've never seen any diet with less science and more just anecdotal evidence, which I agree with the anecdotal evidence for being perpetuated. Meaning like I have a podcast called The Mounting Evidence Against Meat. Doesn't mean I'm against meat. Again, I like to look at the actual research. But people are getting rid of their autoimmune issues or skin issues, etc., by not eating any fruits or vegetables or carbohydrates. And it's because they have gut issues with candida overgrowth or bacterial overgrowth or both that gets exacerbated when they put food that's fermentable into their gut. But the problem is that most of these people are not natural health-based doctors. And again, like I'm not being egocentric or saying that they're not brilliant. They're brilliant, but they've just never studied the body holistically. And so, everything looks like a pill for every ill. And so, okay, we stop eating these foods and we get better symptomologically. The problem is when you look at long-term data for a low carbohydrate diet, you see that it increases all-cause mortality by anywhere from 28 to 38%. If it's done well, it still increases all causes of death by 28%. If it's not done well, it increases it by 38%. And I've shared the research on that. I talk about it in depth inside of High Performance Health. The only longevity diets that we know of in the entire world where people live on average, meaning like they have very predictable centenarians in their populations, the only diets that we know contain about 5% to about maybe 7% of their diet from meat, flesh-based foods. They do have some dairy. I'm not going to say that they don't. But the predominance is from vegetables, from fruit, some beans, legumes, etc. And again, I have no dog in this race. I enjoy eating meat. I've never said that I don't, but I don't pretend that it's a longevity-based diet. So always, what are you optimizing for? I want people to optimize for health and longevity, and in no way, shape, or form could a carnivore diet ever be that. The people who eat carnivore diets, the tribes that we've studied in the literature, they live on average life expectancy 66 to 67 years old. I don't know that that's really what we're looking for. Please, if this interests you, check out High Performance Health. I go through all of this. I go through the 18 biomarkers on aging. I go through the 11 pillars of aging. I go through the disposable soma theory, like all the different reasons why humans aren't meant to be carnivores, because we're not. You can literally look at our digestive tract or teeth. You can look at so many things. But again, we live in a strange world sometimes. That's all. All right. So Nana is up next. ANANA is the pronunciation, or is the spelling, and I'm not sure that I'm pronouncing it correctly. It says, "Hi, Dr. Ball. Thank you to your team and you for all that you do. I'm finally healing after years of chronic inflammation. Happy to hear that, Nana. I'm currently on, or it might be Nana, on the CBO protocol, and the diet has helped curb some of the symptoms I've been having. However, I'm still struggling with a scalloped tongue, which for anybody out there who doesn't know what that means, it means little indents on the outside of the tongue, thin hair, and slow-growing nails. I've been eating a lot of fruits and veggies and some oils and meat, as well as daily smoothies, but I don't see the changes. I'm wondering if it's malabsorption of some kind, but I'm not sure what next steps to take, and I'm not currently able to do any functional medicine tests. Any advice? Also, for someone prone to pitta imbalances, is it okay to eat histamine-releasing foods like citrus if they are avoiding histamine-rich foods like avocado and smoked meats? All right, so we get a lot of questions in this. You're currently on the CBO protocol, but you haven't finished it. It's 12 weeks, right? So we want to finish the CBO protocol, then we want to do the heal and seal. And that's how we gradually rebuild the digestive system. So you're on the right track. And then as you rebuild the digestive system, your digestive absorption improves. When your digestive absorption improves, you absorb more vitamins and minerals, which can then improve your skin, hair, and nails. If you want to improve those right now, again, keep using the daily nutritional support. Use the daily fruit and vegetable blend. Use the advanced collagen support, omega-3s. Those will all help. Okay, what else? Let's see, what else? Scalloped tongue. Scalloped tongue usually means slow, weak digestion. In Ayurveda, it's cold stomach or low stomach acid. You might do well with a little bit of apple cider vinegar, like 1 tablespoon, with some water at meals. However, that's going to be higher histamine. It may not work for you. You may be someone that does better with digestive enzymes. You might do better with some ginger tea. You'll find the thing that helps ignite that digestive fire. All right? Prone to pitta imbalances, that's more inflammatory imbalances. You said you were doing better with chronic inflammation. That's great to hear. You're going to have to test these foods. It also goes back to the rain barrel effect. If you've read my book, The Rain Barrel, you can understand that sometimes you're okay with 1 citrus fruit a day, let's say a grapefruit. But if you were to have a grapefruit plus fresh squeezed lemon in your water all day long, it might create more histamines for you. So everybody has their upper limit for their rain barrel. And you'll be able to find yours. But remember, the more balanced your body becomes, the more lenient it is with being able to do more of the things that previously you weren't able to do in terms of healthy foods. All right. Looks like Nana has a second question. Hi again. Had a question about how to support a loved one with an illness who isn't open to trying non-conventional medicine approaches and isn't ready to change their diet. How do you help them get better when they aren't ready to do what it takes to get there? Yeah, it's a great question. We talk about this a lot in IHP Mastery quite a bit. That course is actually only open to people that have been through IHP level 1. So it's not easy, especially if it's a loved one and you know them really well, because sometimes they're less responsive to you than they are to maybe an outside practitioner. So we do 2 things. Like you buy them a copy of The Rain Barrel Effect and you just say, hey, could you read this? It doesn't have to be my book. I'm just giving you obviously an example. You can use any book that you relate to. It could be sending them a podcast. It's doing things to at least allow them to open a little crack in the door, right? So that then they say, okay, I'm not ready to get started, but I'm willing to listen now, right? So now, again, maybe they read the book after listening to a podcast. Then maybe they're more of a database person. We run a lab. If it's a digestive issue, we run a digestive-based lab, like the Candida metabolic and vitamins test or the bacteria and parasite stool test or something like that. If it's inflammatory-based, we run the inflammation omega-3 test. If it's, what else might it be? Heavy metals, okay? We run the minerals and metals test. Or what's another big one? Let's say it's psoriasis, or let's say it's eczema. Maybe we run the food sensitivity test. So like if it's hormonal based, we run the stress, mood, and metabolism test, right? So we're running the lab, they see it, they say, oh yeah, you're right, I do have imbalances. Then they may take that next step. So it's really what they're open to. Like that's the goal always. Now, if they can make one dietary change, whatever they're doing for breakfast, do a smoothie. Ease of digestion, powerful antioxidant foods, fiber, protein, some healthy fats, all the vitamins and minerals they need for the day with some 2 scoops of daily nutritional support. I mean, that's the best way because it also replaces probably whatever the not so great choice is at breakfast that they're eating right now. So that's typically how we start. And then also have them work with someone outside your family. Have them work with an integrative health practitioner or someone at our practice, whatever works for you. All right. An integrative health practitioner, it's integrativehealthpractitioner.org. That's all independent practitioners, but we've essentially trained them, we certified them to become a health coach, and you can obviously learn about that yourself as well if it's of interest. All right, Anonymous is up next. Good morning. Could you recommend a couple of whole house water filtration systems? They're a big investment, so I want to make sure I get the right one that actually does what it's supposed to do. Also, is it necessary to have both water filtration and softener for health? Or will just the filter do? By the way, I appreciate all you do. All right, appreciate this. Thank you so much, Anonymous, for writing in. So we're actually looking at whole house filters right now. I'm looking at one for my home, but I'm also looking at one to have as an exhibitor at the Reimagining Health Summit. And if you don't know that, that's basically you're invited. Our community is getting together in person for the very first time, which is going to be amazing. It's this coming October. That's at reimagininghealthevent.com. We would love to have you there. And we're going to have a lot of amazing exhibitors, all with our seal of approval. So we're looking at one right now. I will give you my recommendations on that. For right now, all the water filters I recommend are at stephencabral.com/resources. All right. So that's where they all are. I have a new reverse osmosis one that sits on your counter. That's inexpensive. That one I'll be reviewing. I will be reviewing that in late August, early September. So that won't be for a bit. And then we'll do the whole house filter after that in October. All right. So those will be upcoming. Thank you for writing in. Paul's up next. Hi, Dr. Rawl. I appreciate all your work, and I have a question about food sensitivity testing. There are multiple research papers indicating these tests do more harm than good due to multiple factors that can turn people off of eating healthy, nutritious foods simply because of an IgG antibody that was present at the time of the test. How do you coach IHPs to coach patients on results and these types of standards of IgG tests? Thank you, Paul. Paul, happy to help. Definitely answered this question before. You can go to stephencabral.com/podcast and just type in, food testing, and you'd actually see my previous tests answers on that, but I'm happy to answer it again. So IgG testing is very important, actually, because it looks at inflammation caused by foods that you wouldn't be able to predict simply by eating it, because it's a reaction that happens typically 1 to 3 days later. Okay, let's say you're listening to this on a Saturday. So we would say, all right, Paul, what did you have to eat on Wednesday that could be affecting your health today? Because it's in a latent-based response. And it's legit, and these are legitimate tests. Now, I understand that some people may say, well, what if the person has 20 different food sensitivities out of the 190 food that we test for? I agree, and I don't discount that. What we do is for anybody who's sensitive to so many different things, we say, listen, we're eliminating the biggest sensitivities, the one creating the most inflammation, and it most likely tells us not to avoid them. Again, conventional medicine, we just play peekaboo with the different diseases, right? We just give them a medication and pretend like it's not actually there because it just palliates the symptoms. We're not going to do that. There's most likely a gut health issue. So the food sensitivity test should lead to a bacterial and parasite stool test to find out if they have yeast overgrowth, bacterial overgrowth, H. pylori, or parasites, right? And so what we do is real, true science in helping people to get well. People get fed up with saying, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. We want to provide the answers. And so that's what we do. Now, every high-level functional medicine doctor, integrative health doctor I know runs this lab test. So people can refute it, et cetera, et cetera. I know what the data shows. I see the data. And I also see what happens in clinical practice. And then I see what happens when we do an elimination period and then add it back in. And people will say, well, that's just because they haven't been eating it for a while. That's actually not true in terms of how they heal. Yes, they heal because they no longer allow their immune system to see these foods to exacerbate the immune response over and over, but we're also healing the gut. Now, if it were simply true that the foods they ate were showing up in the test, well, then why don't all the foods they eat show up in the test, right? You can't have it both ways. So, Paul, I know that's you not saying this, but I just want to share that with people who refute this. It's used at all major children's hospitals. It's used in autism-based care. So there's always two sides to every story. As a clinician, I can tell you that I get better outcomes when I use food sensitivity testing, all right? But everybody should always do what they feel is best for them. That's the truth. And I support people legitimately however they want to be supported. Like, that's the truth. It's not my job to tell people what to do. It's my job to open the door, like we were just talking about earlier with a friend. Open the door. And then what they choose to do, I will help them and support them with. That's what my team and I do, and that's what IHPs do. All right, we've got one more question today from Kelsey. Kelsey says, "Hi, Dr. Cabral. I've had some constipation for a year or two. Recently, I've had harder to pass stool and blood in my stool. Would you recommend a colonoscopy in this situation?" Okay, so first of all, and I should have given this earlier, I can't provide any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical diagnosis of any kind. But what I can do is share with you a lot of the research. So, depending on your age, a colonoscopy is typically recommended after the age of about 45 or so. If there's any issues, though, you can have them at a much younger age. Now, if you see blood in your stool and it's bright red, it's very likely from, not giving you a diagnosis, tearing around the anus, which happens from harder, difficult to pass stool. It's actually the darker blood, and again, I'm just giving you generalities, that you don't necessarily pick up on. That's the more dangerous kind from polyps inside of the intestines. Now, having said that, you can do a few things. One, and at least to start, you can run what's called a fecal immunochemical test right at home. I've done a previous podcast on that. I would check it out. For $39, you can run this yourself. And if it's positive, of course, you're going to share this with your medical doctor. Now, the second thing you could do is actually run a torso MRI or a full body MRI to look at potential issues with the intestines. The third thing you could do is actually run do a colonoscopy. No matter what, just feel free to run that FIT test right at home and do share with your PCP your concerns, and then the two of you will be able to make the best decision from there. So hopefully those 3 recommendations are helpful. Again, not medical advice, but that's simply what I would do, if I were in your position as well. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into today's show. I'll be back tomorrow answering 6 more of our community's questions. Take care, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your weekend. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.